fully love yourself and your body and still have goals or desire to change. And for me, in my experience, it's been so much easier to make changes from a place of love than a place of fear or judgment.
Welcome to the Mastering Mindfulness Institute with me, Gina Warfel, a podcast that invites you on a journey to self-trust with your food and body so you can reclaim your health with confidence. As a registered dietitian who has multiple degrees in health, and yet I was constantly at war with my body and couldn't trust myself with food, I've made it my mission to show you that coming into harmony with your food and body is all possible. I challenge conventional and outdated ways of dieting to show you how to step into sovereignty over your food choices and life. I can't wait to share with you the depths of my own journey, as well as thoughts from experts and real human beings on their journey, just like you. Thanks for listening. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Mastering Mindfulness Institute podcast. Today, I am so excited to interview one of my favorite people in the world, Valeria Albarran. And so many of us know that when we're on our health journey, it can feel like, what am I missing here? And I'm doing all the things and it feels really hard and challenging. And a lot of people are trying to figure it out. And the truth is, we're so much more than just knowing how to eat healthy and controlling our food. It's really about the relationship we have with ourselves. And Valeria has taken that deeper journey of understanding how to listen to her body and work with it. And so today I'm so excited to hear the ins and outs of her story. And welcome, Valeria.
Thank you.
I'm
you so much to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm so grateful to have you because you have a lot of wisdom. You went through the whole Mastering Mindfulness program, which was a lot. And then you even completed the certification, which was a whole nother year of doing your own deeper work. And now you're coaching.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. And it was a lot to figure out my own journey and also figure out how to coach and learn the back end of everything. So
yeah.
It was a lot, but super grateful.
It's been really cool to see your own journey unfold over time that has a lot of wisdom. And what I'm also so grateful for is that we were actually friends before we started doing this journey together. And I remember we met at a retreat and you and I were talking and you're telling me about how you have a background in the health world and the fitness world. And you were like, Gina, I want to listen to my body. I want to learn how to do it. And so I'm curious, like, what was really drawing you to learning how to do that? And what did you really desire?
Yeah, so I have a long history with my health and it's always just felt like a roller coaster, and health has just always felt so difficult and so hard for me. And so meeting you and really getting into the self-development world and learning about new possibilities, and things aren't always as they seem or as society makes it seem that it needs to be. And meeting you and hearing about how you go about health just really opened up the door to new possibilities. And I had been struggling for so long with, just being at war with my body and nothing was working. And so, I was ready to give up and thought, like, I might as well try this. This seems like a better approach for me if I can figure it out.
Yeah. So let's rewind and go back. How did things start for you, or what was that like for you a long time ago?
Yeah, so I think it really all started when I was probably 10 years old, and I had gained some weight when I was in 5th grade, and I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, I was 10 years old, and everybody around me started commenting on my body and started kind of teasing me and poking fun. And that's the first time that I remember, like, physically being uncomfortable in my body and just having awareness of my body. And by the time I got to 6th grade, I really grew a lot. So I think I stretched out. And then everyone started commenting on my body, like, you look so good, and look at how much weight you've lost. And I was getting all this praise and attention, and I hit puberty around that time too. So I think subconsciously that's when I made the connection that being thin was good and being heavier was bad. And I grew up in a household where I didn't really feel a lot of love and a lot of praise. And so I think subconsciously I made that connection of this fills that void for me. And so I went on to, in middle school, like I would skip breakfast and skip lunch. And then by the time I got home, I was just so hungry and would just eat whatever I could find. And I just really had disordered eating from a very young age. And when I went to college, I decided to hire a bodybuilding coach. And I was super excited, super motivated. So he gave me like a set meal plan. And I did really good for a while because I was excited and motivated. And then I told him one time that I ate a mini Snickers bar, and he like lost it and was like, you're never going to accomplish your goals if you keep messing up. And so I just thought, okay, I just need to try harder. I need to do better. And that really put me in this like vicious cycle of doing good for a week or a few days, and then I would mess up. And because I already messed up, it would be like a free for all and just like binge eat all the things I wasn't allowed to have. And it was just this vicious cycle of doing that for a long time. So I feel like for most of my life have had disordered eating. And so finding this has been so beautiful because I feel like I've been able to heal all of that and just feel like at peace and not be so consumed by my health.
Yeah, I think what you say a lot of people can really relate to is that vicious cycle of I'm trying so hard, but then at the end of the day, the body is so starving for food, and then you lose it and wonder like, what is wrong with me? And that propels you back into that cycle again. And I definitely experienced that. And I think a lot of people do. And there almost becomes this gray area of what is an eating disorder? Because a lot of us experience that. Like, is it one? I don't know if we would classically define it as one or not, but we can feel that it creates like a lot of pain and a lot of tension. And I can see that it was a really deep, probably painful experience for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I agree with you. I think a lot of these diets and things that people try, it only pushes you farther into creating more problems.
Yeah, right. The harder you try, the further it creates problems and issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I, let's fast forward then. You and I just meet and you're starting to see, okay, wait a second, maybe there's a different way of doing things. What started coming up for you? Did that bring up any kind of fears or thoughts? What were you thinking at that time or experiencing at that time?
Yeah, definitely a lot of fears. I mean, this is totally different than, what I had been taught and really what society thinks and teaches everybody. And so it was really scary. And I think this journey really requires, or it teaches you how to have trust in yourself. And I didn't have that at the time. That was one thing that I didn't have. I was very indecisive, didn't feel like I could trust myself in just life in general. Thinking about going on this journey where it's like, I have to trust my body was really scary for me. And I think one of my biggest fears, and actually a fear that I hear most often from other people, is if I allow myself to eat whatever I want, I'm going to eat 10 donuts every single day. And that was a real fear for me, I'm going to become obese and eat everything and have no control, But it's been so cool to be on this journey because it's been the opposite. The more I trust myself and trust my body, the more I want to care for my body and feed it nutritious, whole foods. And all the food noise has kind of gone away.
Wow. And so that must have taken a really big leap of faith and trust. Maybe one of the first steps to like healing that deep trust within yourself, because you didn't have any evidence that that was possible.
Right.
You're just like, okay, let's let go of control.
Totally. And it took me a while to fully let go of control. I was like, okay, I'm going to try this, but like deep down was still like scared and still like holding on to like a little bit of control, and it really took a while for me to like fully surrender into that. but it's been a really beautiful experience to do that.
Do you have any specific memories of some of those moments where you're like, wait a second, maybe I can do this? Like anything that gave you one of those moments or pieces of evidence?
Totally. So I never had treats or like ice cream in my house because I felt like I couldn't trust myself to have stuff just laying around. So I decided to give myself full permission with ice cream. Like, I'm just going to have ice cream as much as I want. And I ate ice cream every single night for like a week. And then something really interesting happened. I started to realize that I actually don't even like ice cream.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? And like, even now to this day, like we'll go to an ice cream shop and like, I just am not interested in eating ice cream because I don't like ice cream. And it was like the restriction in my mind that was keeping me stuck in that, you know, I was eating ice cream, not because I liked it, but because I told myself I couldn't have it. And so when I realized that, it was like so eye-opening, like, wow, what else am I, you know, creating in my mind that's not actually real.
That I want, that I don't even want.
Exactly.
I definitely noticed that for myself, where I started to realize there were things I felt out of control with that I later on was like, I don't even like how this tastes. This is terrible. This doesn't even taste that good. So there's something else of like a mind game around the restriction, or I can't have it, that all of a sudden makes it more enticing. And that's so funny. I don't know if you ever told me that completely. I don't know if you ever shared that story with me. That's so funny.
Yeah, it was totally eye-opening for me and a really cool experience. And I'll have a bite of ice cream here and there, but it's in my choosing. I'm in choice with it and like can just have a few bites and then be done, you know?
Yeah. I'd love to ask you too a little bit more of an edgy question.
Sure.
Of like, as you were starting, I know you were saying that it took a bit of surrender and like letting go of control. Was there anything that did feel hard or uncomfortable for you that maybe pushed some of your edges?
Yeah, I think kind of what I just said with like letting go of my own food rules, you know, like rules that I had created for so long. It was really hard to let go of that because I didn't know what was going to happen. The unknown was really scary. Also, just really diving deep into myself. I feel like that's what this work is really about, is just getting to know yourself on such a deep level. And that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you haven't gone that deep.
Right.
But it's such a beautiful experience when you do go deep because you get to know yourself on such a deep level and you can show up for others much deeper as well. You know, you can only go as deep with someone as you've been with yourself. And it just really expands your capacity.
Yeah. And I've really seen that with you too, where I think there's maybe a lot of fear of letting go of certain rules or control. But I remember this one day you were so excited and you were sharing with me. You were like, I asked my body, what did it want today? And you had like the best workout. That it doesn't mean that you have to, because you listen to your body, you have to give up working out or sometimes pushing your body. But like instead, it's this amazing partnership. And it felt like that connection and that partnership with your body was just so strong and so solid. It was really beautiful to see that. And also, I'm kind of curious, how does that look for you? Because you let go of the food rules, you started giving yourself permission, but I know that you also have an interest in health and taking care of yourself. So what does that look like for you, bringing those two things together?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to merge those two. And I think just what you said, it's about being in harmony with your body. I used to work out of like punishment for my body because I hated my body. And now I work out because I love my body and it feels good to move my body. And it doesn't have to look the same way every day. You know, I could do yoga, I could do lifting at the gym or running or, you know, just doing movement that feels good rather than following and trying to force my body into this box of like, this is what you need to do. And it just feels so liberating and exciting to move my body and to work out. And same with nutrition, being able to not be in this box of what you can and can't have, but just living life.
What do I desire?
Yeah, just living your life. So
it's funny because it sounds so simple, just living your life, but it actually, in a lot of ways, this work goes so deep and it can be so complex. Like my thoughts, my emotions, what am I craving? Why do I have resistance? Why do I restrict myself? It can be so complex. But then also when we trim it down, it's also so simple. It's like a lot more simple than what we think it is. Sometimes it's just, what do I desire? And what does my body desire? And it can be full of joy and pleasure. And we forget that even exercise can be something like things that we love to do. It doesn't have to be painful and suffering.
Right. Yeah. And I think it is like we are complex humans, and we're complex because of all of our history, our past, right? And so it's unlearning all of the behaviors or beliefs. And that's what this work really focuses on. Like, why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah.
And I feel like the health industry is so like, avoid this and willpower and push through, but nobody stops to ask like, why?
Right.
Why do you have this behavior? Why are you doing the things that you do? And really understanding on a deeper level, like, why does my body work this way? And what's happening inside of my body? And I feel like once you start to understand what's happening, it's a lot easier to move through it instead of avoiding and pushing it away. It's going to keep coming back up.
Yeah. Were there any other moments that you had that were big like that was just like, oh my gosh, that's why I do what I do, or a realization that you had that shifted things?
Yeah, I think a big one for me, a deep realization that I had was my whole life I was chasing perfection, like my version of perfection. And I always felt so unhappy and I could never reach it. It was never enough. And going deeper with myself, I realized that I could never reach happiness with trying to look a certain way or trying to reach perfection, because it wasn't actually about that. It was, I had a void inside of myself that I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to know that I was worthy, and chasing those things was never going to get me that. And so understanding that and having that realization led me down this whole path of self-love. And just when I realized that I could provide love for myself, it really changed my whole life.
Wow. And a lot of people wonder, like, what exactly does that mean? Like, what does self-love look like and feel like? And I'm curious how that shows up for you.
Yeah. I think self-love is like a big buzzword in our society right now. And a lot of people think, it's bubble baths or treat yourself or go shopping. And I think that can be part of it for sure. And I think it could be also used as avoidance in a way. You have an uncomfortable feeling coming up, and instead of actual self-love doesn't mean feeling good all the time. It means being able to go with the uncomfortable emotions and fully accept yourself, all parts of you. And so I think a lot of times when someone feels uncomfortable emotions, it's like, oh, I need to take care of myself and make myself feel good. And that's not what self-love is at all. It's being able to go with those uncomfortable emotions and sit with yourself and really hold space for yourself. And, this is really hard what you're going through, and it's okay that you feel this way. I'm here and I'm not leaving you, and that's when you start building that self-trust, and it just changes everything. It changes your thoughts. It changes the way you see yourself. It changes how you show up for others. It changes just about everything when you can show up for yourself that way.
Yeah. And a lot of people are scared of self-love, that if I love myself, then I won't ever change. And you're sharing it in such an empowering way. And so I'm curious maybe if you also have a thought related to that and how it's shown up for you with so many people have those fears of like, if I love myself, I won't be capable of change, or how would you answer to those fears?
Yeah, I had those fears too. And, even with your body, like a lot of people think if you love your body, you have to fully accept it just the way it is and like not want to change it, because then that would mean that you don't love it, But that's totally not it at all. You can fully love yourself and your body and still have goals or desire to change. And for me, in my experience, it's been so much easier to make changes from a place of love than a place of fear or judgment. I think when you really love yourself, you want to give the best to yourself, just like I would with a friend. Like I want to give my friends the best and I want to show up for them and I want to push them to be better. And so that's really how it is. The relationship to yourself, it's a lot easier to push yourself to be better because you love yourself and want to take care of yourself.
Couldn't agree more. I feel the exact same. It was when I started to really love and support myself, then I was really wanting to nurture and care for it and tune into like, okay, body, I'm listening to you. What do you need? How can I show up for you? How can I care for you? Instead of like forcing it, berating it, and really keeping it down. So it's really beautiful. So self-love is like a really big component for you, holding the space for yourself and tuning in to just anything that comes up, all different emotions. Were there any other things that really resonated with you, like strategies or tools or practices that have been really key for you?
Yeah, I think there's so many different things.
Yeah.
But just like really unraveling like beliefs, like why you believe what you do, and really getting clear on like what beliefs have you taken on from your parents or from society or from religion, or, and like letting go of that and just really getting to know what you believe and what you stand for. And I think that really helps in like just solidifying who you are. I've never felt more solid in who I am as a person because I know what I believe. I know who I am. And I feel that so deep to my core. And it just feels good to have that confidence of knowing who you are.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a belief that you uncovered that you realized was not really you, that helped you feel like who you really are?
I think a big one for me was I believed that health was hard. Health was supposed to be hard. And as long as I believed that, it was hard.
Right.
And realizing that it doesn't have to be that way has been so life-changing for me. It's like you get to believe whatever you want and that's the reality.
And then your actions follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I believe health is hard, I probably won't do it, or I'll do the hard things. If I believe it's easy, I'll find ways to make it easy and fun.
Yeah, totally.
That is really funny. I feel like the behind all of our actions and everything we do is just the belief that's driving it.
Yeah.
You change your beliefs, you change your experience. And then you have just a big shift.
Yeah. And once you learn the tools, it's really fun because you can, this program and work is about health, but it's really not. It's about so much more because you can apply it to any area of your life. And once you have the tools, you can kind of just like rewind and be like, wait a minute, like, I'm struggling with this. Let's go back and like figure out where this came from and fix that. And then everything changes.
Yeah. I mean, can you break that down a little bit more? Like going in a little bit deeper? Because some people are probably like, what? What do you mean? Where does that come from and what it is? Can you explain what that process is like for you?
Yeah. So I think all of our behaviors and actions there's a reason why we do what we do, but we don't really know. We're not connected to it. And so being able to peel back the layers of like, okay, I have this feeling, like, what's underneath that feeling, or where did this come from? And being able to get down to the root cause of where this stemmed from or what's driving this behavior, and being able to heal that part of you to be able to move forward so it doesn't keep coming up. An example for me was I really, in health, struggled with late night snacking and like treats. And it was something that I just couldn't break for a long time. And finally going into it, like, okay, what am I feeling in those moments when I feel the need to, have a snack or a treat? And peeling back the layers, I realized that it was connected to like feeling lonely for me. And there was a time in my life where I was lonely, and I used, sweets or baking to help me cope with that. And I was still using it today in my life. And today it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not lonely. I've got lots of friends. I've got a partner. I've got, kids, but it was still showing up for me. And so just alone having that realization that that's what it was connected to changed everything. Because it's like, now I can find ways, like, how can I create more connection in my life? Maybe I can call a friend. Maybe I can, set up a time to go see a friend, or creating that connection. And then the craving or desire kind of goes away because you're filling that void or that need.
Yeah, what I love what you said about that is how you let that experience and that craving be your guide to learning about yourself. So where sometimes we get scared of exploring our relationship with food, like it's this bad thing and it's this very heavy thing. And there are parts that are probably like, wow, I had to hold this loneliness with a lot of love and maybe sadness or this feeling inside of me. But you actually let it guide you to saying, I'm actually desiring connection or the feeling of love within myself. And you're able to provide that with yourself and then see a shift that happens. And I would almost imagine that pattern probably would have forever felt like a struggle in that old cycle that you used to go through without understanding the roots of like, what is it here to tell you?
Yeah. Our adult self or our self today is like, why do I keep doing this? And a lot of judgment, and I can't break this cycle. But you don't understand what's going on beneath the surface. And so there's a lot of judgment that can be created because we don't actually understand what's going on. Yeah. So
you understand, and it's so powerful.
Oh yeah. It changes everything because now you can actually address the problem or the issue, the find a solution. And that was a big thing for me. I didn't realize that, the food industry or the health industry pushes you away from getting closer to what you're feeling, like avoidance. But really, we should be moving towards it. And what is this trying to tell me about myself? And that was a really big eye-opening tool for me, is these cravings are actually trying to teach me something. And like you say, a craving is a desire for something to either avoid a pain or feel pleasure. And so in those moments, like, what am I trying to avoid or feel? And I feel like it's kind of like a little puzzle piece for me to like guide my life into what I'm actually needing. And so it can be a really powerful tool when you use it that way instead of avoiding it.
Absolutely. So well said. So how do you feel like this has really impacted your life?
Yeah, I feel like so much has changed for me. And I think the biggest thing for me is the level of trust and love I have for myself and for my body, and just feeling a lot of freedom with my body and my choices. It's just really changed how I show up for everybody in my life, how I show up for myself, and life is just more fun.
Yeah.
More exciting now.
Yeah. Do you have any wisdom for people who are thinking about taking this path or exploring that relationship with themselves and their body, but they're feeling hesitant? Do you have any thoughts or wisdom?
Yeah. I think for people that have struggled with their health for a long time, I think this is a great path to get closer to what you actually need and resolving it rather than trying another diet or trying something else that's only going to keep you stuck, Yeah. And if it hasn't worked, if the diet hasn't worked this far, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah. Do something different.
Yeah. Do something different. And it can be uncomfortable and scary to do deeper work, but what's the alternative? What's more uncomfortable, being stuck for years and years and years, or putting the work in for a little while and being uncomfortable for a little while to find freedom on the other side?
Absolutely. Yeah. Are there any other tips or anything that you really want people to know?
I think finding a supporting community, and Mastering Mindfulness really does that, creates a really safe, vulnerable place for people to explore themselves. I think finding support is one of the biggest pieces in working through uncomfortable things, is just finding people to support you and leaning into the discomfort.
Yeah. I'm curious too, now that you're coaching and you're supporting people, what do you feel like are some of those places that are your superpower that you really love? I know we talk about tuning into our bodies and beliefs and health perspectives. What do you feel like is your particular superpower, or things that you feel so excited about sharing with people?
Yeah, I'm super excited to help people, and just the transformations I've seen already have been so profound and beautiful. And I think what I'm most excited about is helping people develop a relationship with themselves. And really the foundation of that is learning to love themselves on a deep level, because that really changes everything for somebody. And to see people show up for themselves and love themselves and be kind to themselves, most people aren't. Most people have a lot of judgment and criticism and negative thoughts. And to see that switch, and people find happiness, not just with health, but in their life. It's so beautiful to watch, and for me to experience as well. So I feel like that's what I'm most excited about, is just helping people change their lives.
It is. And I would say that of everything that people share with me when they start to love themselves, and also I see the way that you give that reflection back to people of showing them how to love themselves. And people do say to me, that is the most impactful thing of anything that I have ever learned or experienced. And the amazing thing about when you learn to love yourself is it's not something that you lose. It's not a program that you're on or that you're off. When you coach people to love themselves, it's something that they get to keep for the rest of their life.
Yeah, no one can take that from them.
No one can take it away from you. It's the best investment you could ever make, because it doesn't ever go away. Once you have that relationship, it's like you have that partner that's there for you forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really changes other relationships in your life. Like, you don't allow other people to treat you poorly because you love yourself. Like, I wouldn't allow someone to treat you poorly.
Right.
So you start doing the same for you. You start showing up for yourself differently. And it's kind of like the snowball effect. It just kind of leads into another thing and just completely changes your life.
Yeah, it is interesting how it seems like we go through the entry point of talking about food and health, but it really does impact everything from the relationship to yourself to your relationships with other people, and being able to set boundaries and set boundaries because you love yourself. Sometimes setting boundaries because you love yourself with food or with people are things that just aren't serving you anymore.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with people?
I think just take the leap of faith. I think for me, starting this journey, it really took a leap of faith in myself to trust myself. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to figure it out. I saw you and I'm like, of course Gina can figure it out. She's Gina.
Don't worry. You can take my belief. You can borrow my belief in you. You got it.
Yeah. And that's kind of a big thing is I didn't believe that I could do it, but borrowing somebody else's belief, you really believed in me. Mm-hmm. You can do this. You can figure it out. And it's like, okay, well, Gina believes in me. And so, yeah, just finding a supporting community and taking that leap of faith in yourself and one step at a time. Mm-hmm. It can be messy and a lot of resistance comes up, but that's just part of the process.
Yeah, it's almost like an initiation that all of your fears and resistance, when you start to change and explore yourself and your feelings, is like, it's almost a part of like that initiation in that process.
Yeah.
To like feel those fears and just love it and move forward anyways.
Yeah. So to know it's normal.
Yeah.
To feel all of that.
And I loved the many times that you were like, I am in full resistance right now. Like the many different cycles, like we think of it as this linear path, but going through the cycles. And I think that is the benefit of having someone there by your side, a community or coach who can walk you through and say, don't worry, this resistance is normal. You're just meeting that edge of facing some of these fears or getting to know this new part of yourself that you've never met before. And that's scary and it's different. And you're moving into the mystery and the unknown. And to have somebody there who's like, don't worry. Yep, you're in resistance. Just love it. And when you're ready, kind of lean back into the places that are uncomfortable with love. And there is no rush.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this work. I feel like you're really learning about yourself. And with other health programs, you can reach your goals. Like with tracking, I worked with a coach that did tracking for a while, and I felt amazing when I was working with her and I reached all my goals. But then I stopped working with her and I stopped tracking, and I didn't have the tools or the knowledge to maintain because I stopped tracking. And so it's like with this work, you're really learning lifelong skills that you don't need to be dependent on somebody else to hold you accountable,
Right. Yeah, you are building independence instead of being dependent on another program where you're on it and off of it. You're just deepening and building confidence that you get to keep forever.
Yeah.
No one will ever take away that relationship that you have with you.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. For me, it has been incredible to watch you show up for yourself and choose yourself again and again. And girl, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You're willing to go to those places, those uncomfortable places. And it's been incredible to watch you coaching now and teaching other people and using your gifts and your superpowers. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Gina.
I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you as well.
I'll make sure that I include everything in the notes if people want to contact you and reach out to you. And yeah, is there anything else?
No, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Valeria. Guys, I will see you next time.